Here are some shocking facts about Saudi Arabia. 1. Human rights record. Saudi Arabia has been widely criticized for its human rights record. The country has strict laws and practices that limit freedom of expression, assembly, and association. Dissidents, activists, and journalists have faced imprisonment and persecution for speaking out against the government. Though women's rights, while Saudi Arabia has recently made some reforms to enhance women's rights, there are still significant restrictions on women's freedoms. Until 2018, women were not allowed to drive, and the country has a system of male guardianship that gives men authority over women in various aspects of their lives. 10. Capital punishment. Saudi Arabia has one of the highest execution rates in the world. The country applies the death penalty for crimes such as murder, drug trafficking, and apostasy. The methods of execution include beheading, stoning, and crucifixion. 4. Treatment of migrant workers. Saudi Arabia heavily relies on migrant workers, who often face exploitation and abuse. Many workers experience long working hours, low wages, confiscation of passports, and poor living conditions. Domestic workers, in particular, are vulnerable to mistreatment and labor exploitation. 5. Yemen conflict. Saudi Arabia has been involved in a military intervention in Yemen since 2015. The war has resulted in a severe humanitarian crisis, with thousands of civilian casualties, widespread famine, and a cholera outbreak. The Saudi-led coalition has been accused of targeting civilian areas and committing war crimes. 6. Religious restrictions. Saudi Arabia follows a strict interpretation of Sunni Islam known as Wahhabism. Non-Muslims are not allowed to practice their religion publicly, and religious minorities face discrimination. The country also restricts the freedom of expression regarding religious beliefs and imposes limitations on non-Muslim religious practices. 7. Lack of press freedom. Saudi Arabia has limited press freedom, and media outlets are largely controlled by the government. Journalists and bloggers critical of the government or its policies often face censorship, intimidation, and imprisonment. 8. LGBTQ Juma rights. Homosexuality is illegal in Saudi Arabia, and LGBTQ Juma individuals face persecution and discrimination. Same-sex sexual activity is punishable by law, and there are no legal protections for LGBTQ Juma individuals. It is important to note that these facts represent some of the criticisms and concerns raised about Saudi Arabia. The situation in the country may evolve over time, and there are ongoing efforts for reforms and improvements.